Welcome to Marshall Close-Up, where we take a look into others' lives to see how their careers perform. And today we're taking a look at the Local 6 anchor, the Todd Faulkner. I'm Wayne Ragsdale, and I'm going to be asking you some questions today. But first and foremost, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. Appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, of course, and I'm very happy you're being on, and I'm very excited to be interviewing you. So let's go ahead and get this started.
Okay.
So how has covering news as a whole changed how you see things?
Well, I think when you cover news, you learn a lot about people. And so that's the connection with any story, whether it's a good story, a bad story, you connect with people. And so over the years, I've gotten to meet a lot of people and interact. And so you learn that there are all sorts of people in the world, people with thriving careers, people who are looking for a job, people with money, people who don't have money, and everything in between. And so if you can find that human connection, that usually is what leads to a really good story that you can put on television news.
Right, and speaking of stories, what are some of your most memorable stories? Those can be good or bad.
Oh gosh, I've covered a lot in the last 20 plus years here in West Kentucky. We're here at Marshall County High School, the Marshall County High School shooting. That is unfortunately memorable, just for the tragedy that it was.
Absolutely.
And the impact it had in the community. But at the same time, I can also remember fun stories like barbecue on the river down in Paducah, and other things throughout the years. Of course, there's the day in and day out, covering court cases, and that runs the gamut. But there's been a lot of stories that have meant a lot to me. And again, it goes back to people and the connections that I've made over the years.
Absolutely. And you said you've been doing this for over 20 years. So what really got you into the media game?
Well, when I graduated from high school, I'm from Ohio. I went to a university there. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just went to college thinking I'll figure out a major. And my first year, I had a radio show. And there was a guy, a professor that came in, and he said, hey, we've got this TV news thing that we do over here with all college students, and we're hiring TV writers. Do you want to hire you as a TV writer? I said, I don't know how to write news. He said, well, we'll teach you, and we'll pay you $125 a month, which as a college student, $125 a month is like $1 million, right?
Right.
So I went over there and did that and kind of fell into journalism and learned to love it, and graduated and got my first job in West Virginia, and worked a couple other places, and then I landed here almost 20 years ago thinking I'd only be here for a year or two, and here we are.
So what has made you stay here for that long?
Well, that's a good question. I kind of fell in love with West Kentucky. Its people. I felt a connection here, good-hearted people, communities that really invested in themselves, and the other thing I say is I just kept getting promoted, and so I kept getting promoted from reporter to weekend anchor to evening anchor.
Suffering from success.
Right. So successful career. Fell in love with the area. I've made some wonderful friends over my tenure, and so it just felt right to stay here.
Absolutely. Have you thought about moving to other places?
I have, and over the years, it's probably been 7 or 8 years. I did interview at other places. I mentioned I'm from Ohio. I interviewed at a Columbus station. I flew down to Georgia and interviewed at a station there outside Atlanta. But ultimately, none of the jobs felt right. And this job felt right. The station felt right. The community felt right. And so I decided to stay.
Nice. So how did you necessarily end up working for WPSD specifically?
Well, interesting you ask. In television news, when you're working a station and you're ready to, jump to a larger market or test yourself in a new way, you send out, when I was doing it, you send out DVDs. And now everything's a link.
Right.
I know that makes me sound old. But anyway, I was sending out DVDs and tapes, and I just happened to see Paducah in a trade magazine, and I thought, I have no idea where that is, but I'll just send a tape. And I got a call from the then news director and said, we'd like to fly out for an interview to be a reporter. And I said, great, because I was working at a station in West Virginia. And so I flew out here, did the interview, and I guess the rest is history. I took the job and moved out here.
Nice. That sounds like it's a really good, convenient thing that happened. Like just, oh, I found this place by convenience, and it turns out it was one of the best things that could happen.
Excellent point. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah. So how has working here been different than working at some of the other places?
That's a good question. It's different in the sense that the longer I'm here, the more I feel invested in the community. And with that, I think, comes responsibility to get the story right, to do the story justice, because I live here too. You know, I go to the grocery stores around here, I go to church around here, I build friendships around here. This is, you know, I'm not a transplant, this is my home. I consider West Kentucky my home. And so I feel a bit of responsibility in what I do.
Right. And how has journalism changed since you've been a part of news as a whole?
Oh gosh, it has changed dramatically. First of all, when I started in journalism, there was no Facebook. There were not news websites per se. I mean, there were, but it wasn't as big as it is now. And so the whole shift to social media has been the absolute biggest change now, where, you know, people are not getting their news traditionally at 5, 6, and 10. I mean, they are, but your demographic is now going to Twitter, X, Facebook, TikTok, you know, all the social media apps. And so that's been the absolute biggest change in my career.
So what's your opinion on social media, like connecting with the news? Like, do you think it should be a part of the news? Do you think news companies should take advantage of that? Or do you think that they should keep it, you know, at measured times?
Yeah, no, I've kind of gone back and forth on that. That's a good question. I've gone back and forth on what I think. I think a couple of years ago, I thought social media was unequivocally bad, but I've changed my stance on that. I think it's in our lives, and it's in the lives of people that we want to get the news product to. So we have to meet viewers where they're at. And so where are the viewers? They're on all the social media platforms. So we have to adapt, and we have to change and meet them where they are. So to answer your question, I am pro social media to get the news product on those platforms. It's just where we are. It's a no-brainer. You got to do it.
Yeah, and so like, if it wasn't for adapting and you got to choose whether news came out through social media or through broadcasted news, which one would you choose?
I guess I'm old school, so I would go for the traditional TV newscast that you sit down and you watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I probably would too. That's just a bit more entertaining, I guess, to an extent.
Yeah. And there's a different production value to it. I mean, if you look at somebody in my industry who's younger than me, I'll admit, puts together a news segment for TikTok or Twitter or X or Facebook, it's different than the traditional, I am the news anchor and here's what's going on and I'm reading a script. But I guess since I came up that way, that's what I prefer.
All right, I get that. How has working at a more local area, you know, at a smaller, not as well known area, changed how you do news and how you view those smaller
Yeah,
places?
I think, you know, local news should be hyper-local news. You know, national headlines, if you want to know that stuff, you'll search that out. You'll watch the network level news if you want to know what's happening at the federal level. And, you know, and sometimes we will report those things because it affects West Kentucky. But to me, local news is hyper-local. So you're doing everything from covering the county commission meeting to the city commission meeting to local stories about, you know, we ran a story the other day, a quick little 20-second, there was a Marshall County student got a scholarship or something. That's hyper-local, but that's what people want to see when they turn to their local news. They want to see what's happening down the street, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
And you mentioned like people going to watch federal news. Have you ever considered going into that field rather than local?
You know, there was probably a time years ago when I first started, one of my coworkers, his name is Gabe Gutierrez, and the term, I don't know if you've heard the term, is cutting your teeth. Basically, it means like very brand new in the industry. We cut our teeth together what's called one-man bands in West Virginia. So we were shooting, we were doing it all, and we became very good friends. And I kind of went on one path, and he went on the other. And to answer your question, he is now the NBC News White House correspondent, chief correspondent. And so, I turn on nightly news and I'm like, hello, there's Gabe, and we text, and I've thought about it, and, maybe there's a bit of regret, maybe not going down that path, but, he chose that, and that worked out for him, and I chose this path, and I'm happy where I am.
So what do you think are some of the pros and cons of doing local compared to federal or national?
I think when you're on a national stage, I think everything just kind of gets gobbled up into the ether, and you don't pay as much attention to it, because that there are all these issues at the federal level, there's government in DC or whatever, versus local news. People we interview, I see them out at parties and functions and fundraisers. I have that connection where I know who those people are. It's not separated. I know who, the mayor of Paducah, I've known for 20 years before he was in elected office. We're friends, so there's that connection that I am part of this community versus I'm outside, traveling the country, reporting on national issues.
Okay, so how does Local 6 balance the good and the bad stories? Because with how much negativity is in the world now, because I feel like, as an extent, the world has either gotten darker or more light has been brought to that darkness. So how does news stations balance that? Yeah,
that's a good question. You talk about balance. I would interpret that balance is conversations. I think viewers would be surprised at the number of conversations we have throughout the course of a news day, a news cycle. Do we air a story? What parts of the story do we air? What do we not include, and why do we not include it? There's a lot of editorial conversations that happen through the course of the day before we put that story on the air, whether it's a 20-second story or a 2-minute story or a 4-minute story. I mean, there are conversations happening all the time about what is right, what is wrong, do we adhere to our guidelines? Just because another station airs a story doesn't mean necessarily we will, or parts of a story. There are a lot of conversations that happen during the day that I think viewers would be very surprised about.
So it kind of sounds like you can't really be prepared for any one story with the risk of it going off at all times.
Well, there is a bit of preparation, that you can do going into setting up a story. You want to, let's just take for an example, we're in a drought right now. So you're going to want to talk to an expert who can talk about how the drought affects farmland, water reserves, or reservoirs, with the TVA. You can set those up, but then you have to be able to pivot and move throughout the day as you put your story together.
So how has anchoring changed how you view things as a whole? Because you mentioned, having some level of preparation, and I'm assuming it's kind of like muscle memory, like when somebody brings up a story to be like, oh, how can we make this story work? At least to an extent with 20 years. So how has that changed how you view just normal things?
I think I have grown an appreciation for all different walks of life. And what I mean by that is, I've interviewed and talked to, whatever the context of the story is, people who are really down on their luck, don't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of family support. And then I've talked to the total opposite, people with a lot of money, people with a lot of family support, and everything in between. So it's kind of like the human condition, in the moment, you find yourself identifying with that person in some way, shape, or form.
And I'm assuming that's kind of changed your personal belief as time goes on. I don't know about drastically, but is that something that's happened?
It's influenced who I am and how I think, in a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way. Every day, every month, every year is different. You learn and you grow. I notice the longer I'm in the business, I'm a lot calmer than I was 20, 25 years ago. I approach things probably a little less wound tight. Yeah.
All right, and I think that's going to be it for my serious questions. I've got some more fun and whimsy questions.
Yeah, let's go.
And my first one is, you know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Oh,
right?
sure, Teenage
Okay.
Mutant Ninja Turtles, yeah.
So, if
Turtles
you were
in
the,
a half shell, Ninja
Exactly.
Power, yeah.
If you were the only one in the world who knew about the Ninja Turtles, how would you tell the people about that? How would you write a news story explaining the Turtles?
That's a good question. That's great. How would I tell that story? I think my lead line would be 4 individuals who you wouldn't think have the power to make a difference do, and they're not human beings, they're turtles. And I would interview the turtles, and I would show them what they're doing. They're out there stopping crime, and I would put together a story, and air it on TV. So,
Who's your favorite turtle?
gosh, I'm really bad. I want to say Raphael. Now, which color is that? I'm trying to think.
Red.
Red. Yeah, Raphael. Yeah.
So, if you were in like April O'Neil's position, because she is a news reporter,
Sure. Yeah.
would you also keep it a secret like she does, or would you try to get it on live TV?
The journalist in me would not keep it a secret. I understand April O'Neil's choice to keep it a secret. I would not keep it a secret. So.
Yeah. So say something happened and your teleprompter stopped working and you could do your own bit for 10 minutes, what bit would you come up with?
Well, I will tell you that the teleprompter has stopped working in my career, but what would I do? Honestly, and this is going to sound so boring and so adult-like, but one of my biggest hobbies is presidential history. I go to presidential museums and libraries. I read books about presidents, so I would probably opine and just talk about presidents.
You think that'd be more popular than the actual news?
Oh, no, it probably wouldn't be more popular. It would probably be more boring.
And then my final question is, if you could create any segment to appear on the news every night, what would it be?
In a perfect world, I don't know whether you would call it a good news segment or making an impact segment, but showing the good that's happening in the community, because there's a lot of good. We report a lot of the bad, but all in all, deep down, I still believe people are good. Even after all these years, I think people are good. I think communities are good. And so I would just report on the positive in the community.
Thank you, and that's my last question for
All right,
you.
great.
And this has been the Marshall Close-Up. Thank you for joining us on it. I'm Wayne Ragsdale, and it's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.